Christian Bale, a Hollywood actor and a world-class star. In 2011, he came to China for the premiere of the film The Flowers of War, in which he starred. This Chinese production shows the story of the Japanese invasion of the Chinese city of Nanjing in 1937. An American who pretends to be a priest defends schoolgirls and prostitutes hiding in the church from Japanese soldiers. It was supposed to be an amazing opportunity for the Chinese Communist authorities to promote the state. However, Bale decided to visit a Chinese civil rights activist, Chen Guangchen. This blind and self-taught lawyer, persecuted by Chinese communists, was placed under house arrest. The British actor traveled for 8 hours from Beijing to cheer him up. And also, he brought the CNN crew who recorded scenes that had ruined the image improvement that the Chinese Communist Party had hoped for. The Chinese communist failed to break the blind lawyer. In 2012, he escaped from the house arrest to the US Embassy in Beijing, and finally, he managed to reach the USA. Christian Bale did not forget about the barefoot lawyer. In 2012, he presented Chen with an award for human rights defenders of the New York Human Rights First organization. Christian Bale and Chen Guangchen's friendship continues to this day, and I'm honored to introduce you to the barefoot lawyer on Against the Tide TV, Ewnika Chojecka. Hello, this is Against the Tide TV from Poland. My name is Ewnika Chojecka, and together with me is an amazing guest, Mr. Chen Guangchen, a Chinese civil rights activist and a blind lawyer, persecuted and arrested by Chinese communists. Mr. Chen escaped the American embassy. Hello, it's a privilege to have you in our TV.
Hi, my friend. I'm so happy to see you on the TV.
Thank you so much for being with us. The thing about Mr. Chen, he escaped to American embassy in Beijing and now is living in the US. And my first question, Mr. Chen, is you have been persecuted in China for being a human rights lawyer and for your campaigns, for example, a campaign against forced abortions. You wrote in your book, The Barefoot Lawyer, A Blind Man's Fight for Justice and Freedom in China, that you were even offered by the Chinese Communist Party a large sums of money to stop what you're doing. What pushed you to keep going?
I think values should not be bought or sold. At the time, I said to the CCP officials, if you are going to compensate me for my illegal treatment, for putting me in prison, for beating me, for keeping me under house arrest, I will accept compensation. But if you are trying to silence me, I will not accept it, and I will not be silenced. A regime that can use money to cover up its crimes is a terrible thing.
I was reading in Pastor Paweł book, God's Double Agents. We have a Polish version of this book, thanks to our Taiwanese correspondent, Hannah Shan. And about your story with a Hollywood star and actor Christian Bale in China. This story was like an action movie, and it was amazing. And what would you want to say to Christian Bale now?
Yeah, Christian Bale is my brother and best friend now. So, yeah, at that time, that is very, very difficult. Yeah, you know, he came to my hometown to want to help me. The Communist Party ordered a lot of thugs to beat him and stop it. So later, the Communist Party censorship censored his movie in mainland China, but the Chinese people stand up to support him. So I think, he is very good person. Yeah, we touch each other now.
Yes, and do you contact with Christian Bale now when you live in America?
Yes.
Why can I not go visit this man?
Hollywood actor Christian Bale is used to action, but this is no movie set.
We've been stopped.
Plainclothes Chinese security who would not identify themselves determined to stop him and our crew contacting a detained human rights activist.
No, watch it, Christian. Watch it. We're trying to get out of here. Once again, we've been stopped. We've been stopped right here. And as you can see, they're pushing Christian here. We're just trying to leave peacefully. We're trying to leave peacefully.
You know, I'm not being brave doing this. The local people who are standing up to the authorities and insisting on going to visit Chen and his family and getting beaten up for it, and my understanding is being detained for it and everything. You know, I want to support what they're doing.
Bale could have rolled up the red carpet and left, but the actor whose movie is about suffering and injustice could not leave China without highlighting this real-life struggle.
It doesn't come naturally to me, but this was just a situation I said, I can't look the other way.
The Chinese security continued to chase us for more than half an hour. We got away. Chen remains locked in his house. Stan Grant, CNN, Shandong, China.
When you escaped from the house arrest, you made it to the US Embassy in Beijing. Suddenly, an order from Washington, it was during the Obama administration, came to get you out of the embassy to avoid having the bad relations with the Chinese Communist Party. How did you react to that? And did you feel betrayed then?
First, I felt extremely disappointed and very, very sad. I felt that the U.S. had given up on its founding values: democracy, human rights, freedom, in exchange for the relationship with the CCP.
And finally, you and your family made it into the US. And in America, have you ever felt any threat or pressure from the Chinese Communist Party?
Yes, the pressure has never ceased. They harassed my family in China after I left to get me to stop speak out, and even put rat poison in my kitchen beside our flower when I was overseas. This was an obvious threat to let me know they could reach me. The CCP has always hoped that I would be silent and not criticize their human rights record.
But you have joined the Republican National Convention this year and told the world that the Communist Party of China is an enemy of the humanity. As the only Polish television, we translated the fragments of that into Polish. And why the free world, including Poland, should confront the Chinese Communist Party?
If the free world doesn't use its values of human rights and freedom to change the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP regime will change the free world. The dictatorship of the CCP is not only a threat to the Chinese people, but now the whole world. The coronavirus, which originated in China and which has now changed life across the globe is a clear example.
Greetings. My name is Chen Guangchen. Standing up to tyranny is not easy, I know. When I spoke out against China's one-child policy and other injustices, I was prosecuted, beaten, sent to prison, and put under house arrest by the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP. The CCP is an enemy of humanity. It is terrorizing its own people, and it is threatening the well-being of the world. The U.S. must use its values of freedom, democracy, and the rule of law to gather a coalition of other democracies to stop CCP's aggression. President Trump had led on this, and we need the other countries to join him in this fight.
In your speech, you expressed gratitude to the American people for welcoming you and your family. And what lessons can life in the U.S. offer to the Chinese brought up in the communist system?
If the Chinese people understand my story and how I came to the U.S., they would learn that if you want freedom, you must stand up and fight for it. They would understand that if a blind person was able to stand up to the CCP, other people have even more ability to fight back. This should give them great hope. The greatest difference between life in the U.S. and life in China is that there is no leadership of the CCP. In the U.S., you can experience a true sense of freedom and human rights under the protection of the rule of law.
And you have praised U.S. President Donald Trump's leaderships in the fight against the Chinese Communist Party. Why do you support him in the coming election?
The steps the administration has taken to confront the CCP regime show me that Trump and his administrative team understand the CCP's evil. They understand that the CCP does not represent the Chinese people. Trump has thrown away the policy of appeasement of past administrations, and his administration has spoken about plans to assist the Chinese people in getting rid of the CCP. If the policy of appeasement returns to U.S.-China relations, it will be detrimental not only to the Chinese people's future democracy, but also democracy in the U.S.
And let's move to Poland. In our country, we are often told by some so-called Chinese experts that because of Chinese culture, especially Confucianism, freedom or personal liberty are not for Chinese people. In other words, those experts advocate that Chinese can only be slaves. How would you respond to such claims?
Oh, this is completely wrong. They don't understand Confucius. The Chinese people have their own traditions of rule of law and all being equal under the law. Confucius said that if you are a leader, you have to be reasonable, good. You can't do bad things. The Chinese people want freedom just like other people do.
Some of our leading politicians in Poland are using Huawei, TikTok, and other Chinese technologies. What do you think about it?
Oh, this will put Polish people in danger. The CCP uses technology to watch and surveil people. If you don't want the CCP to put the Polish people under their surveillance and steal their personal information, then don't use these technologies. You know, the Communist Party in China use the technology to make a recognized movement, face movement to control the Chinese people. Dangerous. Stop about this.
Thank you so much for your time and for these words that encourage us, the Polish people, to act for freedom and to oppose the Chinese Communist Party. God bless you. Together with us was Mr. Chen Guangchen, a Chinese civil rights activist and a famous lawyer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you also Hanna Shen, Ivan Belostenko, and Kornelia Chojecka for the help and support in this interview. It was Against the Tide TV from Poland, Eunika Chojecka.
Thank you. See you soon. Thank you.
It's my great honor to present Chen Guangchen with his Human Rights Award. Ladies and gentlemen, Chen Guangchen. I have not been officially trained in the law. But one doesn't need to go to a special school to understand justice. No one with a conscience can stand by when innocent people are bullied and beaten until they bleed. That's why those called barefoot lawyers got our hands on law books and passed them battered from use, from person to person. We studied the rules so we could play by them, even while Chinese authorities ignore them. As I learn about the law in America, it is clear that Western lawyers operate on the notion that speaking up makes a positive difference. As you say here, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.